an interesting theory Brian Tyler Cohen, he asked Gavin Newsom in that interview whether Trump was using California, a blue state, sanctuary city, as a way to distract the media and Americans from what's happening between him and Elon Musk. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, the thing is, it's not just him and Elon Musk. I mean, I go back, like nothing else is going well for the president, right? The one thing, and you see it in polling, right? The one thing the voters believe he's done well so far is secure the border. Other than that, everything else is a net negative. The economy is shaky. These tariffs are extraordinarily unpopular. His bill, there is no, I mean, that his big, beautiful bill in Congress, there is, if they pass it, I don't know what they run on, because the entire bill is built around not allowing his tax cuts to expire. So you have to somehow make the case to voters, hey, boy, it could have been worse. Never an easy thing doing that. So I just think that and obviously what's been happening overseas hasn't gone well. About the only thing that I think has gone well on the foreign policy front is how he's handled Syria. But some of that has to do with what may be simply pay to play policy when it comes to the Gulf states, right? And how much money he's personally profited off of that. So I don't know if it's a distraction from Musk or not, but I actually think part of Trump's anger at Musk is Doge has been a failure. Doge didn't do, the promise Musk made, and Trump realized, oh, this isn't going to help the deficit. This isn't going to help the numbers when we're trying to sell our tax cut. So I genuinely think Trump is angry that Musk failed in what he promised to do.
So is that the reason, is that your opinion on what led to this breakup, Chuck? It was just that in general wasn't, a personal breakup between the two. It was the fact that Doge didn't deliver what they said they were going to deliver, despite the fact that the big, beautiful bill would completely contradict everything Donald Trump said he was going to do.
Here's what I think that's how they got. I think so. Here's around Trump, there were a lot of people that didn't like Musk and wanted to see Musk go. Okay. The knives were out. Look, I just had an interview with Steve Bannon for our new platform, Newsphere, and you could just feel the venom towards Musk from him and all of his allies. I mean, they do not view, so there's and a lot of those folks work in the administration. So there were folks wanting to get Musk, and the way they got to Trump, the way they convinced Trump that, hey, you can cut Musk loose, is because Musk hasn't done what he said he was going to do. Right. And it certainly looks as if Musk wanted to do this job more to secure his government contracts and his relationships with his companies, with NASA and with the Pentagon, than he did to actually do the job. And secondly, I actually think it's because Musk didn't know what the actual facts were on the ground when it came to the government. And he made some big, bold promises based on conspiracy theories. Well, it turned out those conspiracies weren't true about government. And he couldn't find, but literally 1% of what he promised he could cut. So I think Trump was persuaded by Musk haters to cut Musk loose based on Musk not performing, even though the motivation of those Musk haters had nothing to do with Musk not performing, if you get my drift.
Do you see a world in which we see Elon Musk turning to the Democrats, whether out of retaliation, out of revenge to Donald Trump, whether that be investing money, endorsing certain people, campaigning ahead of the midterm elections?
Look, there's a reason we use the expression "follow the money," meaning you don't just follow spending. People will follow money. Oh, look, Elon Musk, money. I'm not saying some Democrats aren't going to try. Yeah. But I don't think, this is not a popular figure in either party. And I don't think the billionaire set's very popular. So I don't know, in a time when the rich are afraid to show off that they're rich, that a Democratic Party that's struggling to appeal to working class voters sidles up to a billionaire. I don't know if that's good politics for them. I think Musk is more likely to play in the third party arena, maybe play in Republican primary politics, maybe try to play a little bit in both. Say he's gonna do. I mean, about the one organization in our country that plays in both parties is AIPAC, the lobby for the government of Israel. They play in Democratic primaries, try to push back on the populist left, and they play in Republican primaries, trying to push back on the populist right. So maybe Musk tries to put himself in some sort of position like that, but I actually do think he's got to focus on his business at Tesla, or he had a very he was a few weeks away from that board getting pretty active and getting pretty angry about his leadership of that company.
It was clear that his time working in the White House was derailing him from working on his, thousands of businesses that require his every bit of attention. But just a final question, Chuck. We've seen Vladimir Putin, he launched Russia's biggest drone strike on Ukraine since the war began. Donald Trump, he's yet to even respond to this. But his 2-week deadline to Putin is actually up in 2 days. And yet we've seen really no condemnation or retaliation from the Trump administration. And it seems that we won't get that. It seems that is quite far-fetched. We obviously saw him say that he had a phone conversation with Putin, but there was no sort of condemnation about what Putin had been doing in the last few years, and just said that, look, he's going to retaliate and that's that. So do you expect the US president to stay true to his word that he will respond accordingly to Putin, that he will act differently to Putin if he doesn't use these 2 weeks to prove that he actually wants peace?
No, I don't believe he will. I mean, because past his prologue on this, right? He's never stood up to Putin. He's never gotten tough on Putin. He has let tougher sanctions take place on his watch, but he would refuse to announce it. And at times he would refuse to implement them when Congress he might sign the law, but he didn't necessarily implement them. So no, I don't. And in fact, I don't think we fully appreciate what just happened. After, when he got off the phone with Putin, he didn't say Putin shouldn't retaliate. He said Putin's going to retaliate. So we'll just have to wait and see. That was an American president essentially telling Putin, okay, go ahead and do your retaliation.
Exactly.
Go ahead. I mean, it was so just the fact that he essentially greenlit and stood down as Putin was going to fulfill a promise that he told him that he was going to do on the phone, I think tells you whose side he's on.
Yeah, and I just want to elaborate on that, Chuck, because I want your final thoughts on this. We've seen this bipartisan bill headed up by Lindsey Graham, this 500% tariff that would be slapped on any country importing Russian energy. It is the card to use to cripple Russia's economy, which would essentially end the war, because Putin wouldn't be able to afford the war. He wouldn't be able to afford any machinery, any artillery. He wouldn't be able to pay any of these soldiers that he's forced to work for him because they're getting paid good money. So this is the card to use. But Donald Trump has not only stalled this bill, he's reportedly asked them to water it down and asked for it not to even go to the Senate this week so they wouldn't have to pass it. So why do you think he's not using this card that the US actually has?
I don't think there's 2 ways to look at it. You can be the conspiratorial mind, and I'll set that aside. I think the other part of it is he views the world in binary terms. He thinks there's 3 spheres of influence, that Russia has one, the United States has one, and China has one. Look, I think we're more likely to see a meeting between Xi, Putin, and Trump before the end of this presidential term than we will see, him wanting to hold a G7 meeting at the White House. So look, I don't, that bill may pass, but as you just pointed out, instead of, there's a magic word called shall versus may. And if the law says the government shall, that is, you have to. If the law says the government may, that gives essentially the president the authority to do whatever the heck he wants. And that's how they want to water down the bill, change all the shalls. If you're a grammarian out there, right, this is how it works. All the shalls to may. And that's how you water down this bill. I fully expect more. I think it's more likely they pass something to make the Russia hawks in the Senate feel like they can beat their chest. Hey, look, we passed this. Now it's up to the president to do it, and he won't do it.
Well, I guess we'll just continue to see this TACO acronym all over the headlines, if that's the case. Chuck Todd, thank you so much.
Hey, I hope it's TACO. I'm hoping for the TACO acronym with what's going on in Los Angeles.
I haven't seen it in a few.
I hope he chickens out when it comes to the Insurrection Act.
Well, I think Gavin Newsom does as well. Chuck Todd, thank you so much for joining the Trump Report.
You got it.